Jesus will be back. Hey, did you know he's coming next week? Revelation chapter 19. Don't miss it, okay? That's when Jesus comes back. So tell all your friends that Jesus is coming back next week. You're not lying. He's going to come back in our study. Revelation chapter 17 and 18. We started 17. I just want to catch you up just a little bit. We're in the tribulation period, 7 years. Halfway through the 7-year period, the Antichrist takes over. He sets himself up in the temple, and he wants the whole world to worship him. Now in chapter 17, we started talking about a one-world religion. I told you that the Pope and the mullahs of Islam are involved in this. They have built a building to hold meetings toward it, and there's just a one-world religion coming. I'm not going to tell you it's Catholic because I don't think it is. It's going to be just a conglomerate of everybody coming together. All right? Chapter 17, there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. The great whore in Revelation 17 is the religious group that the Antichrist will put together. You might say, well, how could there be a religious group? Well, doesn't Satan want to deceive all of us? He's going to deceive us then and cause the people that are left to worship this religion. It says she sitteth upon many waters. If you look at 15, verse 15, he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Everybody's going to have to worship the beast. Isn't that what Satan wanted when he fell from heaven? He wanted to be like God. He wanted people to worship him. He's getting his way right now. Now, look if you would. Verse 3, he carried me away in the spirit in the wilderness. I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. 7 heads and 10 horns is the beast that came up out of the sea in chapter 14, I guess it is. Or 13, I'm sorry. That's the religious system of the day. You're going to have to worship the beast, or what's going to happen to you? You're going to be killed. Okay? You think it's tough coming to church nowadays? You're going to have to go to church, the church of Satan, someday, or you won't live. So why not come while you're still breathing? And why you're not made to come? Get in practice. Verse 4. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, decked with gold and precious stones, pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of the abomination and filthiness of her fornication. The Catholic Church, the colors of the hierarchy of the Catholic Church is right here. Again, I'm not saying it's the Catholic Church, but what I'm saying is they're going to be greatly involved. You'll see that in just a minute. All right. Look at verse 8. The beast that thou sawest is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they beheld the beast that was and is not and yet is. Where are you going to be during this time? In heaven. You're not in the bottomless pit. You're not living in America, because I don't think America is even going to be around at this time. My own personal opinion. Verse 9, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. What's the one city in the world that sits on top of 7 hills? Rome. We think that Rome's going to be the capital of the pagan religion. Again, I'm not saying it's the Catholic Church, but it makes sense. Okay? Let's go to chapter 18. This is the religion that everyone's going to have to follow if they want to stay alive. Okay? Could they repent and follow God? Could they? Do they? No. Look at 18. After these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. He cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become a habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and cage of every unclean, hateful bird. Babylon. There's only one other city in the Bible that's mentioned more than Babylon. What's that? Jerusalem. That's the only other name of a city that's mentioned more than Babylon. Babylon was the location for the Garden of Eden. It's right on the Tigris and Euphrates River. And it was in destruction. But you and I remember a guy, what was his name again? Saddam Hussein. He wanted to be like Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar's dream was to exterminate the Jews. Saddam Hussein thought the same thing. There's been a rebuilding of the city of Babylon. There's been brick after brick after brick of the city being restored. And I believe that this Babylon is 2 things. Number 1, it's the one world government. And number 2, it's actually the city of Babylon. Is the city of Babylon in existence today? No. It's going to be, though. Just watch out. Saddam Hussein is at room temperature right now. But there's going to be somebody else that comes along that's going to rebuild Babylon. And you'll hear about it. There are 7 chapter 18. For all the nations, verse 3, have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. The merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now, many of you think that in the end times it's going to be communism or socialism. It's not. I hear voices. I don't want to be like Robert Card, but it's not going to be socialism. It's not going to be communism. What's it going to be? What do we have today as far as a monetary system? You don't know? Our country. Capitalism. Now I'm going to prove to you this morning there's going to be capitalism when the end of time comes. Because look, what's it say? And we'll see more of this. There's going to be merchants and there's going to be buying and selling. Are you allowed to do that in communism? What's everybody in communism state? They're all the same. They're all given the same. Same with socialism. The government takes care of everything. We'll see that in just a second. I heard a voice come from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of the sins, and you receive not of her plagues." The Babylon, the great Babylon, is Antichrist's system of government, of religion, of monetary. We're going to live in a cashless society, aren't we? What do you think John the Revelator thought when it said you can't buy or sell or trade unless you take the mark of the beast? Did he understand that? Did they have money in those days? Yeah. But most of the buying and selling was bartering, and many of it was not controlled. It's going to be. You either take the mark or you don't buy, sell, or trade. For her sins, that's the sin of the mystery Babylon, this system of how we do business, I guess is a way to put it, have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Now in verse 4 it says, "Come out of her, my people." What's that mean? Don't get involved with this. Now, is this a way for God to still see people repent and get away? Don't get involved with this system of Antichrist. Come out. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. What's God saying? Should we have nothing, first of all, to do with her, with this whole system? And her judgment and her penalty is going to be doubled. Okay? Keep that in mind. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much she hath glorified herself. Live deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come unto in one day, death and mourning and famine. She shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. What's going to happen to this commercial system that the Antichrist has set up? What's going to happen to it? What is God going to do to this system? Destroy it, 100%. That's why he's telling his people to get out of it, because he's going to get a double punishment. This whole chapter is about judgment on this commercial system. The kings of the earth, verse 9, who have committed fornication, live deliciously with her, shall wail her, and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. So what's God going to do to this system? Destroy it 100%. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Now, here we're talking about the city of Babylon. What could the city of Babylon be the capital of? the Antichrist, his system of commercial. So basically we have a city, Babylon, and we have a system, Babylon. And it's both going to be destroyed. And it says, standing afar off, verse 10, for fear of her torment. If your city's on fire, you're going to get real close to it and say, boy, I think I'm going to toast some marshmallows. No, you're going to stay away. Verse 11, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Communism, socialism, or capitalism. They're buying and selling. It's capitalism. It's capitalism. It's the same thing we have in America today. For now, the merchants and the mighty men mourn over her. Which is more important to these merchants and to the mighty men? Their possessions, what they can get, or their soul? What shall it profit a man if you gain the whole world and what? They couldn't care less about their own souls. They've had the different things happening on earth that should have brought them to God. It didn't work. But now they're all upset. They're beating their chest. They're throwing dust on their heads because their commercial system, the materialism, has taken over so bad that all they care about is one thing, what they have. Are we getting there today? What do most people care about more than anything? Their soul or what they've got in the bank or in their backyard? Materialism is really taking hold of America today, and it's going to be worse here because all they're worried about is what they don't have. Look at verse 12. Or verse 11, they mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. It's good for salesmen, isn't it? No. You can't sell anything. There's no more merchandise. You can't have all the things, the delicacies, as it says, that you used to have. 12, the merchandise of gold and silver. Now, there's a bunch of things that are listed here. Now I want you to pay attention. The merchandise of gold and silver, precious stones, of pearls, fine linen, purple and silk, scarlet and all thyrine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, all manner of vessels of precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble. Are they all precious and important to people? Yeah. What's that? Yeah. And cinnamon. It's not the stuff you put on your oatmeal. This is a special spice. It's mentioned all. Okay, that is citrus wood. It was used as color. It was very, very expensive. It came from a citrus tree. Okay? A lot of these things are not familiar with us today, but brass, iron, and marble is. Cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour, wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. These are all things that are disappearing. How about slaves? Do you think they were buying slaves in these days? Yeah. And if they didn't buy slaves, you made slaves. Either you work or you're a slave. Could be a hiring practice. And the fruits that thy soul lusteth after, there's the key word, lusteth. are departed from thee. All things which were dainty and goodly departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. What are these rich people going to do when they can't have all these things? Or when one of these things breaks or she needs a new one? Excuse me, I shouldn't be sexist. They need a new one. I shouldn't say she. Wrong pronoun, sorry. But mostly it's the women that care about these things, isn't it? They're not going to have them anymore. They're not going to have them. They're all gone. The merchants of these things which are made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. Everything's disappearing so much and so troubled, people aren't going to want anything to do with it. It's the end times, folks. The whole commercial system of the Antichrist is disappearing. Why? Who's doing this?
Jesus, God is judging.
Yep, it's all judgment. It's all judgment. Let's see, verse 16. And saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches have come to naught. Every shipmaster and all the companies and ships and sailors, as many as trade by sea, stood afar off. They seem to be, and it's still true today, that many of the products that are shipped and sold are shipped and sold by boat. Can you put oil in an airplane and fly it? No. Most of the merchants in this day, and even today, depend upon the shipmasters, and the hands. They're all going to stand afar off. They're not going to work. Verse 18. And they cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto the great city? What's the great city? Babylon. What's happening to it? It's on fire. It's on fire. This is the first time God ever set a city on fire. Anybody have any idea? Sodom and Gomorrah? Edom? There's been many a time that God has set a city on fire. And there's no better way to get rid of all this nonsense than burn it. They cast dust on their heads, cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, the great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. What do they care more about again? Their soul, their future, or stuff? Stuff. Just like us today. Just like us today. We hold on so tightly to the things of this earth that if Jesus did come back, I don't know if many of us will let him go. But we should. Don't hold tightly to anything on this earth, because it's all going to pass away. And when you go to heaven at the rapture, you're not holding on to anything. You're just going. You're just going. Same as when you die. You're not holding on to anything. What did you leave, people say, when you die? What did they leave? Everything. I told you about the funeral I did where the family was sitting on the front row, and the mother of the children had lots of jewelry. And they were all sitting there licking their chops. All they talked about was what they were going to get. But then all of a sudden, the undertaker walked out with the jewelry box, put it in the casket, and locked it. You should have seen their faces. They'd have dug her up in a second just to get what she had. That's the way the world is. That's the way the world. do your giving while you're living so you're knowing where it's going. How about that say? Verse 20, I'm sorry. Now here's something different. Rejoice over her, thou heaven. Now, why should you rejoice? Because the city of Babylon is burning. The system of Antichrist is disappearing. Who's he talking to here? Yep. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and thy holy apostles and prophets. For God hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Now, back in the book of Jeremiah, there's a prophecy that Jeremiah made, that there will be a millstone. A millstone is 1 foot by 5 foot. What was it used for? Grinding. It was heavy, wasn't it? Jeremiah tells a guy to go into the sea and throw the millstone down. That was a prophecy in Jeremiah. It's never been fulfilled, but it will be here. What's going to happen to the millstone when you throw it in the Tigris and Euphrates River? How are they going to get it back? They're not. That's a symbol of what's going to happen to the city of Babylon, the commercial system of Babylon. It's going to be cast, and nobody's ever going to get it back again. Nobody. And the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. No craftsman of whatever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all. What's going to become of this whole city of Babylon? No more music, no more crafts, no more commercialism, no more anything. It's gone. It's gone. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all. There's nothing going to be the same, not even weddings. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, but for their sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and saints and all that were slain upon the earth. Did this system kill prophets and saints? Yep, it did. And it's gone. It's gone. Now, everything's gone that matters to the Antichrist, okay? His religion is gone. His commercialism is gone. His city is gone. His system is gone. What's next? Jesus is coming back. You see how it all works out? We get so wrapped up in today and what we have, but we should keep our eyes up. Be more heavenly minded. Tell other people about Jesus coming back. They'll understand, maybe, if you tell them that everything they have is going to disappear. Everything they hold dear is going to disappear. Oh, but I'm going to miss my dog. Yeah. I'm going to miss my family. If they're saved, you'll see them again. Don't you think that's important? We're going to be so surprised. Ruth and I are having a discussion on whether Elvis is in heaven or not. I say he is. She doesn't know. Because when I worked for Robbie Heiner, he used to sing with what they call the Young Blackwoods. And that was a gospel group. And he said that he heard Elvis give his testimony. Ruth, what did you tell me about what he did after he had a performance?
No, he put a Bible on stage and started reading from the Bible, they say,
Mm-hmm.
before he sang his concert.
Okay.
And he always had a Bible. Oh, and after his concerts, all night long, because he couldn't sleep, they would sing gospel songs. His whole group, they would just
Do you think it's possible Elvis is in heaven? Who are we to judge? Who are we to judge? I want his autograph. And so does Ruth. You know, we were in Las Vegas. I'll tell you this story. I always wanted to see Wayne Newton, okay? So we were in Las Vegas, and we went to the Wayne Newton show, and he went around and kissed every woman in the audience except for one. Who was the one that didn't kiss him? Ruth. She refused.
Hey, Ruth.
Yeah.
I shook his hand. He kissed my hand.
He did?
And he called me a lady.
Oh. Yeah.
You stood out of all those girls.
Yeah, you must have. That's because you didn't kiss him. And then one time we were in Flemington, and we went in to get Hummels, and everybody ever hear Richard Simmons?
Yes.
Okay. He just happened to be there. He was selling dolls. And I had girls, and he said, "Would you buy them a doll?" I said, "No." He actually got on the floor, rolled around, and said, "Cheap, cheap, 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 cheap." I could have stomped on him. I should have. But if we had bought a doll, he wouldn't have done that, would he? See how shallow this world is? And how he did kiss you? Yeah. That's because you're so pretty. Oh, we got stories galore, don't we, Ruth? Yeah. All right. Any questions about Jesus coming back next week? If you want to see when he comes and how he comes, read chapter 19. Yes.
Is he going to come before work day or after work day?
What's that?
Is he going to come before our work day or after our work day?
He's coming next Sunday. And our work day's not till the 11th, so. Yes.
Would you say that chapter 18 is the end of human history?
Yes.
Okay.
Because everything's gone. Chapter 19, Jesus is coming back and he's going to slaughter everybody. We're going to see the Battle of Armageddon next week. Joe.
What would happen to all the animals?
All the what?
What would happen to all the animals? Just elephants, giraffes, lions,
I don't know. Anybody got an idea about that?
when we get raptured, the animals stay.
Well, everything's going to get thrown away.
You mean there's not going to be animals in heaven? My dogs are going. I led them both to the Lord. I don't know, Joe. That's a good question. What happened when the earth was destroyed before? Noah's Ark.
Only things that were in the ark were safe unless they were finished. So,
I guess we'll leave that up to God, okay? And when you get to heaven, you ask him. Because I know there's going to be animals in heaven. Yes?
Well, we already had a taste of what we just talked about. During the whole pandemic, we had the chain shortage, where,
Yeah.
supply chain, we had supply chain issues where all the,
Yeah.
remember there was a boat stuck in the Panama Canal, not
Yeah.
through, so no boats were arriving to shore. Everybody with their need for instant gratification
Yep.
had to wait,
Yeah.
lose their mind.
You see how they're prompting us for this?
It's like a little taste of the.
Was there really a change shortage? I don't believe there was.
But they wanted to.
They want to get you in the position to believe this. Because the whole world's going to believe it someday. Not me, though. I'm going. I'm far off. Got any other questions? Any other questions? Just make sure you're going to. Don't wait and see and hope and think. Make sure. Accept the gift that Jesus gave you and accept him as your Savior. And even if it's not true, what's it going to hurt, right? What's it going to hurt? All right. I got a song here.